cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in particular, fell on the DeepSeek drama. I want to get your take on that. Why do we see Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies under pressure?
Well, I mean, let's start with the good news for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Since the November 5th election, we've had a 50-ish% rise in most of them, specifically Bitcoin, which I think topped at around 108, 109. So a healthy correction made sense, and I think the market was really just looking for some type of news. And of course, this AI news was perceived negative in the U.S., but I would take the opposite view of Bitcoin specifically. Bitcoin's still over 100,000. It feels quite resilient here, somewhat anti-fragile. The news settled in, and here we are still at 102,300. So I like that. You were talking before the break about what is coming up in the crypto universe. There was an announcement about Solana and the CME potentially offering a Solana futures ETF, Frank. I think that would be amazing for the industry because it would be the precursor to eventually getting a Solana cash ETF like you've seen with Ethereum. So as this starts to flesh out, as the Trump administration's regulatory framework starts to flesh out, I think you'll see that we're literally in the opposite. It's almost like you went through the Hall of Mirrors in Alice in Wonderland. We were in a very anti-crypto position in the Biden administration, and now we're going to almost the exact opposite in the Trump administration. So I like, very bullish this year for most of these coins.
So Anthony, you're bullish and you're saying we're in a pro-crypto situation with the Trump administration, but we're going to show the chart right here. I'm looking at the chart for Bitcoin since the inauguration. It's actually down about 3.5%. Now, obviously the DeepSeek sell-off was part of that, but still down. It actually declined after Inauguration Day. What was your take on the executive orders? What's the sentiment in the industry with the idea that we do have a pro-crypto president in the White House?
Well, unfortunately, I have a lot of kids, Frank. The crypto industry has the patience of, a 7 or an 8-year-old, and they wanted Donald Trump to announce on January 20th at 12:01 that he was going to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve. And that would have been a bad idea because what David Sachs is doing is he wants to build a broad-based coalition that would include Democrats and Republicans to make something like a Bitcoin strategic reserve bipartisan. Otherwise, what will end up happening is you get the reserve under a Republican, Democrats get a hold of the White House, they take the reserve back, and you have sort of this flipping and flopping going back and forth as opposed to a consolidated long-term visionary decision. So the move to build a working committee, the move to sort of address this and look at it over the next 6 months, I think soured the industry. And so some of the short-term traders, particularly those with leverage, sold their positions, not getting the super great news. But I think if you read through the executive orders, which we did, we're quite bullish on them. I think David has the right ideas, and you've got positive regulatory people at the SEC and Treasury.
All right, so you mentioned the SEC. Obviously, Gary Gensler out at the SEC. The thought that there's going to be a big change in regulations. What are the regulations that, in your mind, are holding the cryptocurrency industry back, specifically Bitcoin? I know you're a Bitcoin maximalist. You think the coin's going to hit 200,000 by the end of this year.
Yeah, so I mean, very, very simply, just guidelines. I was with Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase in Davos, who spoke on a panel together. Coinbase has been asking the SEC for over 2 years, just tell us what the rules of the road are. One of the big indictments of the Gensler piece of the Biden administration is it was a lot of regulation by enforcement. They're suing people left and right without giving them the appropriate guidelines. Even a federal judge said that was unfair and that it was incumbent upon the SEC to provide guidance. So I think this year, and certainly before February of 2026, we're going to get a piece of legislation related to crypto that will have specificity in it, related to stable coins, related to where Bitcoin is actually going to be regulated. Will it be at the SEC or the CFTC, as an example? I think the industry is really just looking for a set of rules that they can follow that is satisfactory to the United States government. And I think that happens. And the reason why I'm saying February of 2026 is that's really when the electoral campaigns heat up for the House races coming at the end of 2026.